Greetings, my excellent friends, and welcome to Pro Photo Tips. My name is Josh Cripps, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Joshua Cripps Photography. Now, in the past, creating a panorama was a total pain in the butt. You had to get a leveling head and make sure all your technique in the field was perfect, and then you had to use some elaborate tool to combine the photos in post, and then you could only get a JPEG or a TIFF out of it, and so you had to do all your raw processing beforehand and then merge it and then do more final. It was a pain in the butt. But with the latest version of Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw Photoshop CC 2015, Adobe has made it incredibly easy to create panoramas. In fact, it's basically just the click of a button or two. So I'm going to show you how to do that today, and you'll be amazed at just how easy it really is. So here is a series of 6 photos that I shot in New Zealand in Mount Cook National Park. Basically, I just slapped my 70-200 lens on my camera, spun around in a short little arc here, and captured these frames at sunrise. So how you go about getting them into a panorama is incredibly simple. All you got to do is hold Shift and highlight all of them, then right-click, and you'll see right here, Photo Merge Panorama. And if you click on that, what it does is it starts to merge together these images and create the final panorama. You see it's creating the panorama preview. And this, depending on the number of images, the size of the images, and the power of your computer, will take either a very short time or a very long time. Okay, so here is our preview of our panorama. Now you can see it's got some options over here on the right-hand side. There's a couple of different kinds of geometric projections, and that basically just has to do with how Lightroom projects the geometry of the scene. And you can click through them and kind of see which one you think looks the best. I almost always use spherical or cylindrical. Those seem to match reality the most. Perspective kind of puts some funny warping on things that I don't particularly care for. So in this case, I'm going to go with cylindrical. Now you might be wondering also what this auto crop button is, and what that does is when you merge all these files, there's extra space around the edge because Lightroom's got to warp and adjust and manipulate the images so that they fit together. So you can either leave that white space, or if you hit this auto crop button, it will take that out automatically. Now, if I go ahead and hit merge, it'll churn away. You see this little progress bar up here in the top, creating panorama. And as soon as that's done, you'll see the output panorama over here in my library. Now, what is so amazing about this tool here in Lightroom is that the panorama that it creates, the output panorama, is a digital negative file, which is basically Adobe's version of the RAW file, which means that after you've created this panorama, you can edit it as a raw file. So you can adjust exposure and white balance and do all of your tone curve adjustments and your sharpening and any of your HSL adjustments, all of the stuff that you would normally do to a raw file, which previously you couldn't do to a merged panorama because it was only a TIFF or a JPEG. Now you can do it. So this gives you just an amazing amount of power to create panoramas effortlessly and easily. Okay, so it just finished and spit out the output panorama here. And if I click on that and I hit D to jump into the develop module, you'll see it loads my panorama up. Now this is a big file. This is shot with a Nikon D810, so it's a high resolution image. So it sometimes takes a little while to render the scene. But you can see I've got all of my raw adjustments available to me. I could adjust the exposure down if I wanted to. I could increase a little bit of clarity, add some saturation. I can even do other cool things like jump on my graduated filter if I really want to darken that sky down, make it a little bit more dramatic, something like that. You can do all of your raw adjustments. You can even get in here and adjust. Let's finish that up. You can even adjust your sharpness if you want to. So if I zoom in here, and it may take a little while, there we go. So you see how it looks a little bit soft because it's a raw file. So I'm just going to jump up on my sharpening here a little bit, increase the radius a touch, just to bring out some of those details there. you can see just how much detail there really is in this massive file. You can even see, so this is the campground back here, a couple miles away from where I shot. Mount Cook Village over here, the Hermitage Hotel. Just an insane amount of detail. So that's the power of creating these merged panoramas here in Lightroom. Now, there are a couple of limitations that you need to be aware of. One, the maximum file size is 65,000 pixels on the long end, or a max of 512 megapixels in the final file. So whichever comes first, that's where Lightroom is going to top out. But that's a massive, massive file. That's about 15 or 20 shots out of a 36 megapixel camera. So that's a huge, huge, huge file. You probably won't run into that issue. There are a couple of other things you need to know. If we jump back into the grid view here, if you make any local adjustments on any of these files beforehand, such as a graduated filter or a healing brush or anything like that, Lightroom will strip those adjustments out when it goes to make the actual panorama. Now, you might also be wondering what happens if you make global adjustments to these raw files beforehand and then try to merge them. Well, you certainly can do that, although you don't need to, because as I've shown you, you can basically edit your panorama as a raw file. But just for the sake of demonstration, let's take a look at what happens when you do that. So I'm going to grab this one file here, and let's just say I darkened it down a lot and added some clarity. Maybe we'll add a little bit of, bring the highlights back up, just to give it sort of a darker, moodier feel. So now if we jump back into the grid view, you can see that that photo's got a quite different character than these other ones. So you can, if you want to apply that character across the whole way, you can select all of the other images and hit this sync settings button, and that will allow you to sync all the settings, but you don't have to do that. You can see how, even though I've got all of these images selected, this one here has a brighter white square around it. That means in Lightroom parlance, it's the most selected. And if you go to photo merge, a couple of photos, let me deselect all of these, and I'll just select two. Okay, so we've got our most selected and our selected. So if you merge those, Lightroom will automatically grab the settings from the most selected and apply them to all of the other images in your panorama. You can see as it merges them, it creates that nice, dark, moody feel. Whereas if I made this one the most selected and then go to photo merge, it'll keep the settings from that brighter, lighter, less contrasty image. So that's a way you can quickly, easily apply your edits across the board, or you can just wait until you have the final output panorama and make your edits here in Lightroom as a raw file. And that's it. That's all there is to creating a panorama here in Lightroom. If you guys enjoyed this video, please share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel. You can also join the Pro Photo Tips newsletter for more photo tips, events, and full video courses. Be sure to check out some of our other videos. Until next time, have fun and happy shooting.